Chapter 2676 Falling. Chapter 2676 Falling. Just then. The cracks had stopped expanding earlier, but the ground started to crack again. This time, they were expanding faster than before. Everyone was falling before they knew it. Ah! They all screamed. Feng Wu and her teammates were all falling. Feng Wu could hear the wind whooshing in her ears. Ling Hao and the others panicked, but Feng Wu was as calm as ever. She had always been this way. The greater the danger, the more composed she was. She narrowed her eyes when they were about to hit the bottom. She knew that the final part was the most important. All their lives were on the line. "We're going to die!" Ling Hao shouted. The fear of death had overwhelmed them. Feng Wu was the youngest, but she was incredibly calm. She shouted, "Shut up, all of you! Shut up!" How? It was human instinct to scream when they were scared. Feng Wu had never sounded so severe. "Everyone, get ready to land!" Land? Where? How are they supposed to get ready for that? Each person was as baffled as the next. They involuntarily tried to believe her and do as she said, but they didn't know how to get ready. Feng Wu stared at them. "Bring your knees up, curl your arms around them, and bury your head in your lap." The fetus position. Obviously, the others didn't know what the fetus position was. But they understood the first part. They held their knees together and ducked their heads before they realized what they were doing. Feng Wu shouted, "I'm going to count down from 3. At 1, I want everyone to roll forward. Listen carefully. If you don't follow instructions and make the wrong move, you'll get everyone killed." The others gritted their teeth nervously. None of them wanted to become a burden. 3, 2, 1, roll. At 1, Feng Wu focused all her energy on the vines. She whipped the vines in the air, counteracting the momentum of the fall. Thump! All 4 people landed. Just as Feng Wu had instructed, they quickly rolled forward when they touched the ground. They kept rolling until they no longer felt the momentum. Xiao Xiao was the first to stop. He smacked into a rock, which made him see stars, and it felt like his bones had shattered. It was so painful that he was almost in tears. Luckily, his head had been protected. Despite the loud noise, all his wounds were superficial. Luckily, he stopped rolling. He lay flat on his back and heaved a sigh of relief. He survived. His teammates were luckier than he was because they slowly rolled to a stop. Ling Hao was panting as his heart pounded. That had been a terrifying fall. "We must have fallen at least 1,000 meters. Ling Hao stuttered. Chapter 2677 Incident. Chapter 2677 Incident. 1,000 meters? It felt like tens of thousands of meters at least. Xiao Xiao scrambled toward his friends when he finally could breathe again. "Is everyone all right? Anyone hurt?" Xiao Xiao was worried. Ling Hao said, "I'm still alive." Wang Ji said, "I hurt my leg, but I'll live." "Feng Wu, where's Feng Wu?" Xiao Xiao shouted. Everyone started looking around nervously. Feng Wu was the only reason they were still alive, and they hoped nothing had happened to her. Feng Wu said, "Don't worry. I'm fine." She then looked up. They had fallen thousands of meters into this place. They were at the bottom of a deep pit, and the nearest ledge was a few hundred meters above them. They didn't know what was happening on the surface. "Can you walk?" Feng Wu glanced at them. Ling Hao pointed at his belly in frustration. A branch had pierced his abdomen when he fell. Xiao Xiao walked over and cried out when he saw Ling Hao's injury. "Ling Hao, how do you feel? You're so badly wounded. Why didn't you say anything earlier?" Ling Hao smiled bitterly. "I already consider myself lucky to have survived that fall. This wound is nothing." Xiao Xiao said, "Your belly has been pierced. You'll die without proper treatment." Ling Hao struggled, trying to stand up. It's not that serious. Yihan is our only physician, but she's not here. No one can treat me now. Let's find a way out of here first. I can tolerate the pain. Feng Wu crouched down and studied the wound before he could stand up. Xiao Xiao is right. Your wound is very severe. If we don't remove that branch, you'll die from an infection if the blood loss doesn't kill you first. Ling Hao was usually a dauntless man, but what Feng Wu said made him break into a cold sweat. But we don't have a medicine refiner here. What am I going to do? I'm going to die, aren't I? Ling Hao's voice trembled. Feng Wu patted him on the shoulder before she told Xiao Xiao, hold him down. Don't let him move around. Xiao Xiao didn't know what Feng Wu wanted to do, but she had saved them a few times already, so he saw her as their last hope. He would do whatever Feng Wu told him to do. He quickly walked up to Ling Hao's side and held him down. What are you doing? Ling Hao stared at Feng Wu in disbelief. Feng Wu grabbed the branch with her right hand. Ling Hao panicked. Feng Wu, you're not a medicine refiner. What are you doing? Are you going to pull the branch out? Feng Wu measured the branch and did some calculations in her head. She didn't look at Ling Hao when she said, You're right, but you don't get a prize. Oh my God! Ling Hao and Xiao Xiao both stared at Feng Wu. You're not a medicine refiner. Chapter 2678, I'm a medicine refiner. Chapter 2678, I'm a medicine refiner. Feng Wu stared at the two boys in resignation. If I'm not one, who do you think is? She asked impatiently. Ling Hao said, How can you be a medicine refiner? Feng Wu didn't know what to say. Why can't I be one? Haven't I saved you many times already? Xiao Xiao said, Yes, but with pills. You can buy those from the shop. Feng Wu said, I've never bought any medicine in my life. While Feng Wu distracted Ling Hao with the small talk, she grabbed the branch and pulled. Whoosh! The branch was pulled out and blood gushed out. Ah! Ling Hao screamed. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. Feng Wu rolled her eyes at him, and dots of green light flew out of her fingertips. The green dots were natural essence. It was well known that someone had to be at least a supreme-level medicine refiner to activate such essence. It could treat any disease and injury. Everyone was astonished when they saw the natural essence dancing in the air. Oh my God! Feng Wu, you! Xiao Xiao was so astonished that he forgot to blink. It was astonishing. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. The green light flew into Ling Hao's wound. The wound started healing. Xiao Xiao didn't want to believe it at first, but he had no other choice. There wasn't anything wrong with his eyes. This was happening. Feng Wu really was a supreme-level medicine refiner? Feng Wu, don't tell me you're a supreme-level medicine refiner. Even Ling Hao found it hard to believe. Feng Wu rolled her eyes at Xiao Xiao. Don't make a fuss about it. I'm just a supreme-level medicine refiner. They made it sound like it was such an incredible thing. Xiao Xiao didn't know what to say. Supreme-level medicine refiners were supposed to be so rare and so precious in the Empire. Why did Feng Wu make it sound so ordinary? Ling Hao's wound healed quickly after Feng Wu used the natural essence on him, and a scab had formed on his abdomen already. All right. You can get up now. Feng Wu patted Ling Hao on the shoulder. Ling Hao stared at her. All right? I'm all right? You've got to be kidding me. Feng Wu shrugged. Can't you tell if you're all right or not? Just walk around. That was right. Ling Hao smacked his forehead and rose to his feet with Xiao Zhao's help. His eyes lit up when he took the first step. His belly didn't hurt anymore. He could walk. Looking down, he saw that not only had the wound scabbed over, even the scab was beginning to fall off. Holy crap! Ling Hao had never been treated by a supreme-level medicine refiner before, and it felt incredible. Feng Wu, you really are a supreme-level medicine refiner. It finally hit Ling Hao. Feng Wu shrugged. I guess. In fact, Feng Wu was better than that, and Ling Hao could have made an even bolder guess. Chapter 2679 Save Him. Chapter 2679 Save Him. Feng Wu turned to Wang Ji after saving Ling Hao. Wang Ji was lying still on the ground, and she hurried to his side. His right leg was covered in blood and a bone was sticking out. Oh my God! Ling Hao cried out. Wang Ji, you've endured so much pain. This is so bad, but you didn't make a sound. Wang Ji smiled bitterly. It's not like it would have made any difference. Feng Wu examined Wang Ji as Ling Hao spoke to him. The injury was a tricky one. It was his knee. However, it wasn't too tricky for a supreme-level medicine refiner. Feng Wu soon cured Wang Ji. Wang Ji looked at the scab on his knee before he stared at Feng Wu in disbelief. He had been lying some distance away from the others and could only listen when they had shouted in surprise. He had thought that Feng Wu couldn't possibly be a supreme-level medicine refiner. However, he realized how terrifyingly capable Feng Wu was when she cured his leg. Was she even human? Feng Wu looked at them and asked, "Is everyone all right?" "Yes. We're all fine." Everyone looked at Feng Wu in admiration. All the doubts they had about her had disappeared. They admired and even worshipped her from the bottom of their hearts. "We're still short one person." Xiao Xiao finally remembered who was missing. Qing Fong. He was the first to fall. Where is he? Qing Fong. Everyone went silent for a split second. Yes, Qing Fong had been the first to fall. Because of that, Feng Wu hadn't had time to protect him. He was close to us when he fell. Let's look for him. Xiao Xiao didn't lose hope. They climbed out and looked in all directions. Soon, they heard Ling Hao shouting. "Come here. It's Qing Fong." Everyone ran in his direction. They spotted Qing Fong when they were close enough. Ling Hao was flustered. "I don't think I can move him. Feng Wu, help him." Ling Hao looked around and gave Feng Wu a pleading look. The other two boys were looking at her the same way. Feng Wu had saved Qing Fong twice today, but he was still on Yi Han's side. Ling Hao said, "Feng Wu, if you save him, I promise." Feng Wu waved him off. She didn't care about how Qing Fong felt about her. She would save whomever she wanted to save. No one could persuade her otherwise if she didn't want to do anything. It was all up to her. She then examined Qing Fong. He was severely injured. He had fallen right into a crack. However, he was fortunate. He had fallen onto a tree first, which significantly reduced the speed of his fall. Chapter 2680 Save Him Again. Chapter 2680 Save Him Again. If it wasn't for his luck, Qing Fong would have been turned into a pulp by the fall. Feng Wu was surprised after she examined Qing Fong. "He's not dead," Feng Wu said coolly. "He's not? You can save him, can't you? Please help him. Please." Ling Hao and the other two boys begged Feng Wu. Ling Hao said, "We know Qing Fong hasn't been the most polite person, but that's because he has a crush on Yi Han. I think he'll come around after this." Feng Wu smiled wryly. She had never cared about what Qing Fong thought of her. Her only concern was that she was running out of natural essence. She had used it twice, and it would take her some time to recharge once she used it up. She said, "I can help him, but I may not have enough natural essence. Yes, I have enough to save him, but if any of you get injured before I can replenish it, I won't be able to help you." Xiao Xiao nodded solemnly. "I choose to save him." His teammates made the same choice. Feng Wu glanced at Huashan. Huashan said impatiently, "I don't like him because he was mean to Boss Wu. However, forget it. I won't protest." Ling Hao patted his shoulder. "That's my man." Feng Wu shrugged. Since they had all chosen to save Qing Fong over themselves, Feng Wu wouldn't stop them. She was a little touched by their friendship. Ching Fong was severely injured, but Feng Wu's natural essence could work miracles. The time she spent on Ching Fong was longer than what she had spent on Ling Hao and Wang Ji together. Took her a whole 15 minutes. Done. She looked slightly pale when she rose to her feet again. Wang Ji felt a little guilty and asked Feng Wu, "Are you all right?" Feng Wu waved at him. "I feel drained. You're pretty much on your own for the next 24 hours. The others all nodded, feeling guilty for what had happened. Ching Fong suddenly opened his eyes. Everything was blurry at first, but his vision soon recovered. He saw Xiao Xiao, Wang Ji and Feng Wu. "Ching Fong is awake." Ling Hao cried out, ran to Ching Fong's side and helped him sit up. Ching Fong breathed in, but the chest pain he anticipated never came. He was perplexed. Is this hell? Are we all dead? Oh, shut up. Ling Hao smacked his head. No one's dead. We're all alive. That hurts. Ching Fong shouted in pain. That also woke him up. He looked at his teammates and then at himself. Holy crap, he shouted. He vividly remembered the fall. He had fallen on a tree halfway down and then went on falling. He also remembered how severe his injuries were. He had been covered in wounds and couldn't even move a finger. But now... Chapter 2681 You Should Thank Feng Wu. Chapter 2681 You Should Thank Feng Wu. He felt utterly healthy now. Although he still had wounds, they were nothing compared with his original state. What happened? Am I dreaming? Ching Fong stared at his friends in disbelief. Ling Hao patted him on the shoulder. You should thank Feng Wu. Ching Fong still had complicated feelings about Feng Wu, so he frowned and asked reluctantly, What are you talking about? Ling Hao smacked him on the head. Do you know how severe your injuries were? You were lying there and covered in blood. Your breathing was so weak that we thought you could die at any moment. Ching Fong said, I know that. I hit a lot of things when I was falling. I thought I was already dead. Ling Hao said, You would have been if Feng Wu hadn't treated you. Seeing that Ching Fong wasn't convinced, Xiao Xiao chimed in. Ling Hao is right. You were barely breathing when we found you, and we could have lost you. He then pointed at Feng Wu, who was cultivating on the other side. Thanks to Feng Wu, who didn't mind your attitude toward her, she exhausted herself trying to save you. You owe her your life. Feng Wu had saved Ching Fong 3 times already in total. Ching Fong was dumbfounded. She was exhausted? But how? She just needed to feed me some pills. Oh, shut up. Ling Hao smacked him on the head again. You're an idiot. Ching Fong was confused. Why did Ling Hao say that? He had seen it with his own eyes. Xiao Xiao snapped at Ching Fong. Your information needs to be updated. Do you really think Feng Wu only hands out pills? Ching Fong asked. Isn't that the case? Yi Han is the... Xiao Xiao and the others looked at one another in frustration. Yi Han is what? Ling Hao said sarcastically. Are you trying to say that Yi Han is the master-level medicine refiner? Ching Fong stared at the others. Wasn't that obvious? Why did they have strange looks on their faces? Ling Hao shook his head. Yes, Yi Han is a master-level medicine refiner, but you shouldn't brag about her in front of a supreme-level medicine refiner. It only makes you sound foolish. Ching Fong was dumbfounded. A supreme-level medicine refiner? Do we have one here? Ling Hao crossed his hands behind his back and raised his chin. Of course we do. Ching Fong laughed. You're not talking about yourself, are you? Ling Hao glanced at him. Ching Fong stopped laughing. There really is one. Ling Hao said, Would you be alive otherwise? Ching Fong's stomach lurched. Although he hated to admit it, something seemed to have happened to him. He asked tentatively, Surely you don't mean Feng Wu? Ling Hao grinned. Ching Fong looked over his shoulder at Feng Wu and was astonished. Chapter 2682 Secret Essence Mine. Chapter 2682 Secret Essence Mine. No, I don't believe you. I won't. Ching Fong shook his head in disbelief. All his teammates gave him indescribable looks. Ching Fong was astonished. You! Man, just accept it. Ling Hao smiled bitterly. We've all been there. Feng Wu saved Wang Ji and me as well. We all owe her our lives. Ching Fong said, so, it's true. He was still in a state of shock. Ling Hao said, we all saw it with our own eyes. Do you think we're all lying? Ching Fong didn't know what to say. He blushed and glanced at Feng Wu. A supreme-level medicine refiner. She was so young, but she was already a supreme-level medicine refiner. She's just a new student and only joined us a few days ago. Ching Fong sighed as he looked at Feng Wu, who was cultivating with her eyes closed. His friends felt the same way. She was so young but had already achieved so much. It was as if they didn't belong to the same world. But I guess God is fair. Since she's a genius medicine refiner, she can't be an advanced cultivator at the same time, said Ching Fong. Otherwise, no one else would have a chance. Ling Hao asked, are you sure about that? Ching Fong looked at him in confusion. What was he missing? Ling Hao patted Ching Fong on the shoulder. I wouldn't be so sure. Of course Feng Wu was a talented cultivator. It had only been days since she joined the War Academy, but she had risen directly from Class E to Class B. As for her ranking, other things aside, if she could save all three of them with the vines at a critical moment, it was clear enough that she was more capable than Shan Jingfei. She was definitely the best student in Class B now. Why are you all looking at me like that? Ching Fong was dumbfounded. He felt that he had missed so many things. Ling Hao patted him on the head. Observe and stop talking. You'll see. Ching Fong didn't know what to say. Feng Wu opened her eyes at that moment. Xiao Xiao asked excitedly, Feng Wu, have you recovered? Are you all right? Do you need a few more minutes? Feng Wu shook her head. I'm fine. Let's go. Thanks to her treatment, everyone was in reasonably good shape. Without her, they would be too wounded or crippled to walk. Before long, they reached a giant building. In fact, it was more like an underground cave. It was an enormous, magnificent cave. To be more precise, they were in the belly of a mountain that had been cut open. Look, there's something written on the wall. Ling Hao shouted. The others moved closer and saw something at the entrance of the cave. It read, Secret Essence Mine. Oh my God, it's the legendary Secret Essence Mine! Xiao Xiao cried out. Everyone turned to him in unison. Do you know about it? Xiao Xiao nodded. Chapter 2683 A Swordsman in White. Chapter 2683 A Swordsman in White. He knew. What is this place? Ling Hao asked the question everyone wanted to ask. Xiao Xiao hesitated. Ling Hao said, Captain, we don't have any other choice. If we want to get out, we'll have to go into this mountain. If you know something, and if you're at liberty to reveal it, could you please tell us? Xiao Xiao nodded. It's not a secret. I read about this mine in a school magazine. It's supposed to have existed for as long as the school has. Lu Mingzong, the founder and first principal of Imperial College, mined spiritual stones here and used them to set up the college. But because of geological changes and some other reasons, the secret essence mine was buried underground, never to be found again. Who would have thought we would run into that mine here today? Is it the secret essence mine which shocked the entire continent? Ling Hao asked curiously. Xiao Xiao nodded. Yes, it shocked a lot of people. 100,000 tunnels were built to harvest the stones, and at least 1 million miners were buried in these mountains. He looked at his teammates. The exit out of the mine is inside the mountain. That was to say, they could never get out if they didn't go inside. What a bummer. Do you feel cold? Someone asked. It was Ching Fong, the weakest of them all. Cold? How can it be cold? We're students of Class B. We should be used to the cold weather. Achoo! Ling Hao sneezed before he could finish. His cheeks flushed from the cold, and he couldn't stop sneezing. What's happening? Why is it so cold all of a sudden? Someone shouted at that moment. Look! Everyone looked up at the sky. They saw two people in the air. One was a woman in a purple dress. Her hair was so long that it touched the ground. She had a flawless complexion, but her lips were bright red, and her eyebrows were tiny dots. Feng Wu saw her face in the distance. Something about that woman's appearance made her uneasy. The other one was a swordsman in a white robe. He was in his early 20s and carried a long sword on his back. His robe flapped in the wind, giving him an ethereal look. Neither of them spoke, but Feng Wu could feel their terrifying energy. It was so intimidating. What were their cultivation levels? They were at least spiritual kings. The swordsman drew out his sword. Feng Wu's stomach lurched. Shit! She felt that her life was under threat. Feng Wu had always had good instincts. Therefore, run. Get into the mine. Now. She had never urged anyone like this before. It was obvious that Feng Wu was now the leader of this team, so everyone rushed into the cave as soon as she gave the command. The next second. Chapter 2684, Who is he? 1. Chapter 2684, Who is he? 1. The swordsman drew out his sword. No one could describe that move. They thought their eardrums were going to split open. They swayed and spat out mouthfuls of blood. The ground opened up again. This time, the cracks were even wider. OMG! Seeing this, they all realized what had happened earlier. The ground hadn't opened up for no reason. There was a rumbling noise when they ran into the cave. The swordsman struck. It was such terrifying power. No one could describe such power. Everyone was injured. They all spat out blood, Feng Wu included. Countless big rocks fell down from above like a downpour. Go inside. Feng Wu activated her magic soul vines. The vines wrapped around the others and threw them into the mine. The mine was protected by a formation, which had probably been set up by Lu Mingzong. It was able to stop all the falling rock. It made sense. Since the cave hadn't collapsed after so many years, the formation was definitely working. How are you doing? Feng Wu tugged at Huashan when she saw him lying motionlessly on the ground. Cough, cough. Huashan spat out the mud in his mouth and woke up. The others all had scratches of varying degrees, but none of them were severely injured. Ching Fong was shaking. He had seen how the vine wrapped around his waist and threw him into the mine. Only then did he realize how capable Feng Wu really was. Xiao Xiao, check on everyone, Feng Wu told Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao now understood Feng Wu's real power, so he did as he was told. Sure. Feng Wu looked outside the cave while Xiao Xiao was examining the others. The two people had landed outside the cave. The woman in the purple dress had been sliced in half, and the swordsman stood there with blood dripping down his sword. Finally, Feng Wu could see the woman's face clearly. She was right. The woman had little dots for eyebrows and red lips, and was wearing wooden sandals. She didn't look like a native of the Junwu Empire. Suddenly, the swordsman turned around and glanced at Feng Wu. It was so cold that it seemed to curdle Feng Wu's blood. Huashan and the others felt as if they had fallen into an ice cave, and they had difficulty breathing. His eyes were so frightening. What a terrifying aura! Time seemed to stop. Huashan and the others turned around and didn't dare give him another look. They all trembled for fear that the man would want to kill them next. Are we going to die? They looked at one another and all went pale. Were they going to be killed? Were they going to die here? They all wondered the same thing. Why are you guys here? Someone behind them asked. Feng Wu and the others turned around and saw another team come out from deeper inside the cave. Shan Jingfei led the team, and she was followed by Yi Han. Shan Jingfei threw a dirty look at Feng Wu and told the others, "Be quiet." Cheng Fang was excited to see Yi Han. "Yi Han, there you are." Chapter 2685, Who is he? 2. Chapter 2685, Who is he? 2. Yi Han angrily cut Cheng Fang off. "We were hiding safely in this mine, but you just had to barge in. If that swordsman kills us for what we saw, it's your fault." Cheng Fang immediately stopped talking. Shan Jingfei also glared at Feng Wu's team and wanted to kill them all. Feng Wu suddenly rose to her feet. She moved toward the entrance of the cave. Was she going out there? "What are you doing?" everyone shouted in unison. Even Xiao Xiao and his teammates were shocked. They all wanted to huddle together, and hoped that the swordsman wouldn't notice them. Why would Feng Wu want to go out of the cave now? Feng Wu found the man familiar and felt that she had seen him somewhere before. She rushed toward the entrance without hesitation. "Stop her!" Shan Jingfei shouted angrily. But Feng Wu was already outside. Shan Jingfei gritted her teeth and ran after Feng Wu. With a wave of her hand, rocks fell, blocking the entrance. They could only look out of the cave through a narrow gap. Feng Wu was outside while everyone else was inside. "What are you doing?" Xiao Xiao and his teammates glared at Shan Jingfei. Huashan was furious. "How can you do that to Feng Wu? Have you lost your mind?" Ling Hao pushed Shan Jingfei. "Move! Out of my way!" Shan Jingfei only stood there and smirked. She ran to her own death, and none of us could stop her. "If you want to die with her, move the rocks yourself. It's none of my business." She thought that her words would intimidate Xiao Xiao and his friends. After all, she was the class president, and believed that every boy in the class was in love with her. To her surprise, these boys had stopped worshipping her. Xiao Xiao was the first to work on the rocks. Wang Ji, Ling Hao, Huashan and even Cheng Fang joined him, moving the rocks away from the opening. "You!" Shan Jingfei was furious. Xueqing team also realized what was going on. They had been astonished when they saw Feng Wu just then. How was that possible? They had been saved by a Class B student. How? That student was from Class B. Xue Hao decided that now wasn't the right time to figure out who the girl was. They had to save her first. They joined Xiao Zhao's team and started working. Shan Jingfei was fuming. "Xue Hao, Yi Hongxue, what are you doing? Why are you helping Feng Wu? Stop!" Shan Jingfei was so furious that her face twisted. Yi Hongxue looked at Shan Jingfei and asked coldly, "Are you giving us orders now?" That chilled Shan Jingfei to the bone. Yi Hongxue was right. Xueqing team was here to help her kill magical beasts, and Shan Jingfei had no right to give them orders. However, they shouldn't be assisting Feng Wu either. Shan Jingfei decided to complain to Qiuziu after she went back. Chapter 2686, Spiritual Saint. Chapter 2686, Spiritual Saint. While Shan Jingfei was having a row with Xueqing team, Feng Wu was observing the swordsman outside the cave. The man didn't expect to see anyone come out after he demonstrated his full strength, let alone a slender young girl. He wasn't interested in a girl like Feng Wu, and he was ready to leave after killing the woman. He didn't even bother to look at Feng Wu and had no idea what she looked like. However, Feng Wu ran toward the man. The man ran too fast. He was soon out of sight. "Hey! Stop!" Feng Wu shouted after him. However, the man ran off without so much as turning his head. Feng Wu stomped her foot. She had seen that man somewhere before, but where? She couldn't put her finger on it. She then looked at the foreign woman. The dead body had already started decaying from the head downward. She was as dead as could be. Yes, she wasn't from the Junwu Empire. The magic soul vines stirred violently in Feng Wu's sleeves. Feng Wu opened her palm, and the vines quickly stretched out. Soon, the vines wrapped themselves around the dead body. Feng Wu saw the vines quickly absorb whatever was left of the woman's spiritual essence. However, she was decaying too fast. The vines were only halfway done before the body broke down completely. The vines reluctantly retreated and became tiny dots on Feng Wu's wrist. Meanwhile, a storage necklace fell into her hand. Feng Wu's eyes lit up. The woman was powerful enough to fight against the swordsman. Her necklace had to be worth a fortune. However, Feng Wu didn't remember seeing it around the woman's neck. She had probably hidden it somewhere. Feng Wu wouldn't have found it if she didn't have the vines. How lucky! She was going to examine the necklace she had obtained by accident, when people started coming out of the cave. Huashan was in the lead, followed by Ling Hao. Feng Wu, are you all right? Huashan's hands were blistered from carrying all the rocks. He was so worried. Feng Wu wasn't just anyone. She was the crown prince's favorite girl. Huashan knew he was dead if Feng Wu was abducted or killed. She slipped the necklace into her chest pocket and nodded. I'm all right. Where's the swordsman? Ling Hao asked curiously. Feng Wu said, he's gone. Ling Hao asked, just like that. Feng Wu said, yes. Did you expect him to stick around to buy you lunch? Ling Hao said, Feng Wu, you know that's not what I meant. It's good that he's gone. He's just too scary. He's scarier than our principal. Who is he? Xiao said, I don't know who he is, but he's definitely a spiritual saint or higher. A spiritual saint. Chapter 2687 Our Great Junior Level Medicine Refiner. Chapter 2687 Our Great Junior Level Medicine Refiner. Ling Hao couldn't believe his ears. He can't be. The Junwu Empire doesn't have more than a handful of spiritual saints. Xiao said, I think he's even more capable than that. Ling Hao said, Xiao, now you're just exaggerating. Xiao said, I'm not. Shan Jingfei and Yi Han charged out of the cave. Shan Jingfei glared at Feng Wu. She glanced at Xian Jishuan since it was about time that Xian Jishuan scolded Feng Wu on her behalf. However, she didn't know that Xian Jishuan resented her for her deception and had decided not to speak up for her. Seeing this, Yi Han felt that it was an opportunity to curry favor with Shan Jingfei. Feng Wu, what's the matter with you? Yi Han pointed at Feng Wu. You could have gotten all of us killed. If you want to die, feel free to do so, but don't drag us down with you. You could have upset the swordsman. What if he had gotten angry and killed all of us? You saw how terrifying he is. He created this big valley with one slash of his sword. Killing us would be easier than breathing for him. Yi Han lashed out at Feng Wu. Qing Fong frowned. He had thought Yi Han to be a kind and cool-headed person, but why did she appear as mean as Xian Jishuan now? I think that's enough, Qing Fong tried to hint to Yi Han when he saw that all his teammates were frowning. However, Yi Han was annoyed. She felt that even Qing Fong had switched side. You're all fooled by her good looks. All of you are taking her side. One day, she'll get you killed. She's a burden. Yi Han shouted at them. Ling Hao smirked. We're the ones who are a burden. As for getting us killed, Feng Wu saved all our lives. Yi Han didn't know what to say. Now you're making up stories. With her capability, how can she do that? Qing Fong, answer me. How did she save you? Qing Fong said, she cured me. Yi Han laughed. She cured you? With what? Pills? She sure carries a lot of pills on her. Other than that, what does she have? Is she a medicine refiner now? Can she make potions? To her surprise, Xiao Zhao's team all stared at her in a strange way, including Qing Fong. Yi Han wondered why that was. The look on Ling Hao's face was full of mocking. Qing Fang felt sorry for Yi Han, so he told her, Feng Wu is a medicine refiner. A medicine refiner? Enraged by Ling Hao's smirk, Yi Han said, I see. She's the greatest junior-level medicine refiner, is she? Shan Jingfei laughed. But she immediately realized that as the class goddess, she shouldn't gloat. She cleared her throat and said, Excuse me. She then watched as Yi Han made a fool of herself. Chapter 2688 Supreme Level Medicine Refiner. Chapter 2688 Supreme Level Medicine Refiner. Shan Jingfei loved nothing more than seeing Feng Wu get humiliated. However, Xiao Xiao and the others gave Shan Jingfei inscrutable looks. They had seen her as an impeccable goddess, but her reaction so far disappointed them. Shan Jingfei couldn't care less. She had never cared about small people like Xiao Xiao. She only wanted to do what made her happy. Hence, she gave Yi Han an encouraging look. Yi Han became more confident. She sneered at Qing Fang. Tell me, is Feng Wu, the girl you can't stop singing praises about, a great junior-level medicine refiner? Qing Fang hadn't been able to bring himself to disagree with Yi Han before, but he finally saw that Yi Han had never been the helpless girl he had assumed her to be. Instead, she had always been a bully. Feng Wu had saved her life, but when Yi Han got the chance, she immediately turned on Feng Wu. Qing Fang then thought about what he had done. Feng Wu had saved him several times, but each time, he had chosen Yi Han's side. He realized he had also behaved like an ungrateful person, just like Yi Han. Qing Fang flushed at the realization. Seeing that Qing Fang had fallen silent, Yi Han thought he couldn't keep up the lie. She became even more aggressive. What? Are you too scared to continue? Keep bragging, please. Qing Fang was furious. Feng Wu is a supreme-level medicine refiner. Everyone fell silent when he shouted those words. Yi Han was astonished. So was Shan Jingfei and her teammates. Time seemed to freeze for a few seconds. Ha 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 ha! Shan Jingfei and her teammates burst out laughing. Yi Han was the loudest one. She held her stomach with one hand and supported herself against a tree trunk with the other, laughing so hard that she couldn't stand straight. Tears flowed down her cheeks. Gosh! I thought I was going to laugh to death. Is that what you're trying to do? Kill me with laughter? When Yi Han finally stopped laughing, she pointed at Qing Fang and said, I would have believed you if you called her an intermediate, or even senior-level medicine refiner. You got ahead of yourself when you called her a supreme-level medicine refiner. Do you even know how rare it is to find one? Qing Fang rolled his eyes. He knew Yi Han wouldn't believe him. He wouldn't believe it either if he hadn't seen Feng Wu's outstanding medical skills with his own eyes. However, that was the fact. His teammates had all seen it. Qing Fang looked back at Xiao Xiao and the others. Xiao Xiao and his friends had bitter smiles on their faces as well. Qing Fang was at a loss over what to say. Yi Hongxue wanted to step out. She wanted to say that Feng Wu was indeed a supreme-level medicine refiner. Feng Wu had saved her and her teammates with the green natural essence. However, Shan Jingfei intervened. Supreme-level medicine refiner or not, it doesn't mean anything now. Yi Hongxue was speechless. Shan Jingfei walked up to Feng Wu and suddenly raised a hand. There was a mysterious smile on her face. Chapter 2689 The Truth Revealed. Chapter 2689 The Truth Revealed. Feng Wu, why don't we explore this secret essence mine together? Shan Jingfei made the invitation in a condescending tone. Xiao Xiao and his friends frowned. Before, they would have thought that Shan Jingfei was trying to be friendly. However, after they learned what a capable cultivator and medicine refiner Feng Wu was, they were embarrassed by Shan Jingfei's attitude. If Shan Jingfei knew Feng Wu's true capability, she would probably be mortified by what she was doing today. Shan Jingfei looked into Feng Wu's eyes with a perfect smile on her face. Despite the smile, she came off as someone who was extremely arrogant. Feng Wu shook her head without hesitation. I don't like working with you. Xiao Xiao and his friends smiled at one another. That was indeed something Feng Wu would say. How incredible! Not anticipating such a reply, Shan Jingfei felt humiliated. She stared at Feng Wu. Are you turning down my invitation, then? Feng Wu almost felt sorry for the girl. What makes you think you're qualified to make that invitation? That was direct. Shan Jingfei couldn't keep up the facade anymore. She glared at Feng Wu. What's that supposed to mean? Feng Wu had never thought much of Shan Jingfei. If Shan Jingfei hadn't assumed that air, Feng Wu would have ignored her. Feng Wu didn't mind slapping someone else's face when presented with the chance. You're too young to experience memory loss, Feng Wu said casually. Have you forgotten how I got into Class B? Shan Jingfei went ghastly pale. Feng Wu's words felt like a slap to her face. She glared at Feng Wu. You! Feng Wu gave her a sympathetic look. I was going to let it drop. After that test, everyone should know who the top student of Class B is, but you just have to challenge me. Fine. Let's get things straight. Get what straight? Are you saying you're better than Fei Fei? Xian Jishuan snapped. Who the hell do you think you are? Do you think you can do better than her in this hunt? Xian Jishuan tried to provoke Feng Wu. Shan Jingfei threw a dirty look at her. Feng Wu smiled at Shan Jingfei. So, Shan Jingfei, who's going to tell them? Me or you? I don't know what you're talking about. Shan Jingfei wanted to walk away. Feng Wu casually said, all the tutors were there that day. So was the deputy principal. Do you deny that I defeated you? What? Everyone looked from Feng Wu to Shan Jingfei. Xiao Xiao and the others had only suspected that Feng Wu might be better than Shan Jingfei, but they couldn't be sure without seeing them in a match. However, Feng Wu had just made it official. The two girls had fought each other before. Shan Jingfei flushed with fury. She clenched her fists. Her face twisted. She hated Feng Wu so much. Why did she say it out loud in front of everyone? Was she showing off? Chapter 2690, How Exciting. Chapter 2690, How Exciting. Life had always been smooth sailing for Shan Jingfei, and everyone looked up to her. Such humiliation was unheard of. She spun around and glared at Feng Wu. Shan Jingfei was the dream girl of many boys. Anyone else would feel uneasy when she stared at them. But Feng Wu wasn't just anyone. She was very calm and continued smiling at Shan Jingfei. All eyes were on the two girls. How exciting! Xian Jishuan stared at Shan Jingfei, at least feeling avenged. The satisfied look disappeared almost instantly. No one caught that look except for Feng Wu. Feng Wu. I'll remember this. Shan Jingfei quickly recovered from her initial frustration. She readjusted her mood and directed all her hatred toward Feng Wu. Fine. You did defeat me in that test. Wow. Everyone sucked in their breath. She said it. Shan Jingfei said it herself. She admitted she had lost to Feng Wu. Everyone else couldn't help but recall some of the rumors they had been hearing. Rumor was that Feng Wu was a student without talent and was one of the worst in her class. However, Shan Jingfei should have known better. She used to be the top student in Class B, but she chose to go with the flow after losing to Feng Wu. She just let the rumor spread. Why did she let that happen? That made the entire class look bad. A class president shouldn't do such a thing. Once everyone realized that, they began to look at Shan Jingfei in a different light. She used to be the goddess of Class B and even the entire War Academy. However, that reputation seemed to be fading. Shan Jingfei realized it as well and became even more frustrated. Shan Jingfei glared at Feng Wu with eyes filled with fury. I only lost once. Why are you being so smug? Feng Wu glanced at her. What? Would you prefer to lose more than once? Ling Hao burst into laughter. Everyone looked at him. Ling Hao said, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. Please continue." Shan Jingfei ground her teeth, whereas Feng Wu remained perfectly unperturbed. Shan Jingfei was so angry that she laughed. "Feng Wu, I've met a lot of students from Class A, but none of them are as arrogant as you are. Do you think you're such a big deal? Fight someone from Class A. I dare you." Feng Wu gave no reply. Shan Jingfei then presented some shiny crystal cores. "Do you know what these are?" She smirked. Feng Wu glanced at her, still looking unaffected. However, Ling Hao and the others cried out, "Oh my God! They're crystal cores of junior and intermediate class, a magical beast. There are 24 of them." Ling Hao stared at Shan Jingfei in disbelief. "Where did you find them?" Shan Jingfei was a capable student, but she wasn't skilled enough to obtain as many crystal cores as a Class A student could. Chapter 2691, I'm on Feng Wu's side. Chapter 2691. I'm on Feng Wu's side. Only students from Class A can do that. Yu Ling Hao stared at Shan Jingfei. That was what Shan Jingfei had been waiting for. She smirked. "That's right. Some students from Class A helped me with these crystal cores." She then looked at Xueqing team behind her. The members of Xueqing team felt embarrassed. They wouldn't feel so awkward if Feng Wu was merely a student from Class B. However, she just happened to be the big shot who had saved their lives. Yi Hongxue was about to say something, when Feng Wu shook her head. She sighed in resignation. Ling Hao's face darkened. "Shan Jingfei, that's cheating." Ling Hao glared at Shan Jingfei, his face livid. Shan Jingfei smirked. "Feng Wu doesn't have a good boyfriend. She can't blame anyone but herself." Yi Han went on. "Qiuziu asked Class A students to help Jingfei. First place has already been determined. No one but Jingfei will have it. You can all stop trying." She was talking to Feng Wu. First place was predetermined. Everyone looked at Qing Fong since he had mentioned it earlier. Qing Fong nodded, confirming Yi Han's claim. "That's not fair." Ling Hao shouted. "How can Class A get involved? That's not a fair game." Yi Han said, "Get some Class A students to help you then. Cultivation isn't everything. A lot of the time, your connections are part of your capability." Shan Jingfei gloated. "The secret essence mine is full of danger. Are you sure you don't want to join us?" Feng Wu smirked. Shan Jingfei smirked back before turning to Xiao Xiao and the others. "I'm inviting you on my team. If you abandon Feng Wu, I'll permit you to join my team. You'll be under my protection." She was trying to drive a wedge between Feng Wu and the others. In a critical moment like this, she was confident that those people would give up on Feng Wu. At least, that was what she would do. But she was disappointed. Huashan smirked. "I'll never join you. I support Feng Wu." He thought, if you're so proud of your boyfriend in Class A, wait until you find out who Feng Wu's boyfriend is. You'll be so jealous. Shan Jingfei smirked, believing that Huashan was as dumb as Feng Wu was. However, the others followed suit. Ling Hao said, "I'll never join you. I support Feng Wu." Ling Hao was an old Class B student, but he had just turned against Shan Jingfei. Xiao Xiao stepped out and said the same thing. Shan Jingfei was shocked. Wang Ji also chimed in. Shan Jingfei was shocked. Even Qing Fong, who hadn't liked Feng Wu so much at first, said the same thing in the end. Shan Jingfei was so furious that she thought she was going to lose her mind. What was wrong with these people? Chapter 2692, Aren't You Coming? Chapter 2692, Aren't You Coming? Do you have a death wish? Yi Han stared at Qing Fong. Are you an idiot? They're too stupid to cherish their lives, so you're going to do the same? Qing Fong shook his head. I just feel that I have a higher chance of staying alive with Feng Wu. Shan Jingfei and Yi Han couldn't believe their ears. Xian Jishuan didn't think that way. When she calmed down and tried to analyze the situation, she realized that Qing Fong might be telling the truth. Maybe Feng Wu really was a supreme-level medicine refiner, no matter how slim the chance was. Shan Jingfei said, "Fine. If you want to die, be my guest. This is your last chance. I won't ask you again." She walked away after that. Her teammates followed her. Yi Han smirked when she walked past Qing Fong. Qing Fong took Yi Han's sleeve and said sincerely, "Yi Han, you really should come with us. I mean it. Feng Wu will help us. She's a supreme-level medicine refiner." Yi Han said, "You idiot." She threw off his hand with so much force that Qing Fong stumbled. Yi Hongxue and her team were the last to leave. She suddenly asked Feng Wu, "You're Feng Wu, you said?" Feng Wu nodded. Yi Hongxue said, "We accepted Qiu Ziyu's request, so we have to do this. However, if you find our conduct unacceptable, we'll terminate this assignment immediately." The others all nodded. Feng Wu had saved their lives. This task was nothing in comparison. Yi Hongxue didn't know what impact those words had on Ling Hao and the others. Ling Hao and his teammates had been prepared to fight the powerful Class A student. However, these students were showing Feng Wu a lot of respect. That tone. One word from Feng Wu, and they would stop helping Shan Jingfei. Wasn't that a bit over the top? Did Shan Jingfei know that? All eyes were on the arrogant Shan Jingfei, who was as vain as a peacock. She was leading the team away and was too far away to hear them. Shan Jingfei thought Xueqing team was on her side, but she couldn't be any more foolish. They realized how ridiculous Shan Jingfei was. Feng Wu smiled at Xueqing team. "How do you feel?" Yi Hongxue smiled. "We're much better now. Thank you for your help, or we would have." Feng Wu waved her hand. "Don't worry about it. It's no big deal. But it means all the world to us." Yi Hongxue and her teammates meant every word. At that moment, Shan Jingfei finally realized that her patrons hadn't caught up with her team. She turned around to find Xueqing team talking to Feng Wu. She couldn't believe it. She bellowed, "Feng Wu! They accepted my task. How dare you try to steal them away?" Steal them away? Somehow, that sounded entirely accurate. Yi Hongxue wanted to explain, but Feng Wu said, "Don't worry about it. You do what you need to do now. If you want to return the favor, we can always talk about it when we get back." Yi Hongxue gritted her teeth and nodded. "Hongxue, what are you doing there?" Shan Jingfei sounded threatening. Chapter 2693 80,000 Underground Tunnels. Chapter 2693 80,000 Underground Tunnels. Yi Hongxue's face darkened. Shan Jingfei lost her temper because she was worried that the other team would really switch sides. Feng Wu had a strange ability to make people follow her. It had been the case with Xiao Xiao and his team. At that thought, Shan Jingfei ran back to Yi Hongxue and shouted at Feng Wu, "Do you want to steal them as well? They're from Class A. They won't follow you just because you try to recruit them. Don't make me laugh." She then turned to Yi Hongxue. "Hongxue, let's go." Yi Hongxue gave Feng Wu a regretful look. After what Feng Wu said, they had to follow Shan Jingfei. Ling Hao and the others only came back to themselves after Shan Jingfei and her team left. "Did I hear correctly?" Ling Hao was surprised. "Feng Wu, did you save their lives?" Xiao Xiao was equally surprised. "Their Xueqing team, which is one of the top teams in Class A. Xiao Wu, did you save them?" Feng Wu nodded. "Anything wrong with that?" "Of course not," said Ling Hao. "Yi Hongxue said so, and of course we believe you. I just find it hard to imagine." Everyone was astonished. "Feng Wu, you have to understand. Before we came here, we thought you were one of the weakest students in Class B. Do you remember? I was shamelessly telling you that I could let you tag along and help you out." The thought made Ling Hao blush. But you kept showing us your capability along the way. You defeated the magic vine beasts and demonstrated that you're a supreme-level medicine refiner. Amidst everything else, you also helped Xueqing team. We've also just learned that you got into Class B by defeating Shan Jingfei, and you're in fact the top student in our class. We need some time to digest everything. Could be so stressful being on the same team as Feng Wu. Feng Wu said grumpily, digest it while we walk. This secret essence mine is big. There are 80,000 underground tunnels, and we can easily get lost. Be careful. Xiao Xiao said, I have some rope. Let's tie it around our waist. That way, if something goes wrong, we won't be separated. After that, Feng Wu led the team, and was followed by Huashan, Ling Hao, Wang Ji, Qing Fang, and Xiao Xiao. They all tied the rope around their waists so that no one in the team would be separated. 80,000? The idea made Ling Hao want to die. Can we get out? They all looked at Xiao Xiao because he was the one who had brought up the 80,000 tunnels. Xiao Xiao said, I don't have a map, but even if I did, it's still easy to get lost in a dark cave like this. I don't know what we should do. They all looked at Feng Wu. She was going to be their savior. Feng Wu smiled. We'll get out. Ling Hao said, but how? On the surface we can use the sun, the growth rings on tree stumps, or flowing water to figure out the direction. How do we know where we're going in such narrow tunnels? Feng Wu said, do you know who that swordsman is? Everyone shook their heads. Ling Hao asked, do you? It was a familiar face, but Feng Wu couldn't recall who he was. She shook her head. I don't, for now. However... Chapter 2694, Level 8. Chapter 2694, Level 8. Feng Wu smiled. We all know how formidable that man is. He created this big valley with a single strike and exposed this underground mine. Everyone nodded. They had all seen it. Feng Wu then said, but do you know why this secret essence mine remained intact? Why's that? The others asked. Because it's protected by a formation, said Feng Wu. That swordsman has some terrifying skills. When he created this valley with his strike, the temperature dropped by 100 degrees. There was no way we could have survived out there. We had to enter the secret essence mine. Because of the formation, however, the inside of the mine is constantly changing. We'll get lost even if we stay still. Therefore, we must find our way out of here. Otherwise, we'll all die. Feng Wu looked at the other team members. We can't wait for the school to rescue us. Because the people have to know formations as well. Otherwise, they'll be trapped in these 80,000 tunnels as well. If they stayed here, they would freeze to death. If they entered the mine, they might get lost and die. I don't think we have much chance of getting out of here alive, Ling Hao murmured. Everyone felt defeated. Were they so close to death? Feng Wu smiled. Enough with the bad news. Here's some good news. Everyone stared at her. What? Has the formation stopped working? Do we have a map? Do we have a lot of supplies? Everyone's eyes lit up, and they all started asking questions. Feng Wu shook her head. Everyone was disappointed by her reply. She then told them something else. I want to congratulate you because I'm on your team. So, you know formations? Ling Hao stared at Feng Wu in amazement. Feng Wu nodded. Yes. Everyone was astonished. Feng Wu asked, You don't believe me, then? Everyone shook their heads. No, we believe you. Having seen Feng Wu's magnificent capability and medical skills, they would believe anything she said. Yes, she was young, but her capability had never been limited by her age. What level are you, in terms of formations? Xiao Xiao knew a little about formations and remembered that Imperial College's defense formation was level 8. Feng Wu said, level 8. Xiao Xiao stared at Feng Wu. Feng Wu asked, Is it so hard to believe? Xiao Xiao said, Come on. Of course it is. Our school's formation is level 8. Feng Wu said, the one in school is a combination of numerous level 8 formations. It's much more powerful than an ordinary one. Xiao Xiao said, that's correct. Imperial College's defense formation is a combination of countless formations. Are you really a level 8 formation master? Feng Wu nodded. That's right. Xiao Xiao didn't want to believe it. If they believed her, it would make them look like idiots in comparison. Could someone really be so perfect? Chapter 2695 Save Them. Chapter 2695 Save Them. What's the level of the formation in this mine? Xiao Xiao asked. Feng Wu thought for a moment before saying, level 8.5. To be more precise, the outer circle is level 8, and the center is level 8.5. Xiao Xiao stared at Feng Wu in surprise. The others stared at Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao had said that there were 80,000 tunnels underground, which meant that he knew the secret essence mine better than anyone else. Is that true? The others all asked him. The question roused Xiao Xiao from his astonishment. He looked from Feng Wu to the others before he nodded repeatedly. OMG! Where did Feng Wu learn that? Ling Hao immediately realized how she had known. Feng Wu, you really understand this formation? Can you break through it? Feng Wu shook her head. No, I can't, but it's really easy to walk through it and reach the central area. Really easy. Everyone stared at her in resignation. It was anything but easy. They were thrilled that they had teamed up with such a capable cultivator. Feng Wu said, I'll take the lead. You guys hold the rope and follow me. Don't get lost. Remember, there are 80,000 tunnels down here. Take a wrong turn, and you may be trapped here forever. Hearing her grave tone, the others grew serious as well. They walked in silence. Feng Wu said, we should be out in 3 hours. The others nodded. That was much better than they had expected. About an hour later, they heard someone crying for help. Help! Help me! Qing Fong said nervously, it's Yi Han. Yi Han's in danger. Feng Wu, please help her. The others didn't say anything, but deep down, they hoped that Feng Wu would help her. Feng Wu smirked. Do you know where her team is right now? Qing Fong shook his head. They're 30,000 tunnels away from us, Feng Wu said grumpily. 30,000. How can we hear her then? Qing Fong was perplexed. Feng Wu said, because of the formation. Seeing that Feng Wu was growing impatient, Qing Fong didn't dare say another word. Xiao Xiao nodded at Qing Fong. Yi Han and her teammates had been so arrogant and rude to Feng Wu. Why should she help them? But Qing Fong felt conflicted. These are human lives we're talking about here, and Yi Han isn't the only one. There are at least 10 of them, including Xueqing team, Qing Fong said in a low voice. Feng Wu glanced at him. Take this. She then put a paper crane in his hand. She had just made it herself. She casually said, this paper crane will take you to them. Qing Fong couldn't believe his ears. Feng Wu said, go ahead. I thought you wanted to save them. Qing Fong said, I. Feng Wu said, after you find them, follow the paper crane. It'll take you to the core of the formation. I'll only wait 3 hours. If you still haven't come by then, I'll open the core and leave this place with your other teammates. Qing Fong felt like crying. He hadn't planned to help Yi Han himself. Why had it suddenly become his mission? Chapter 2696 Regret. Chapter 2696 Regret. Qing Fong's hands shook. Feng Wu smiled and gave him a meaningful look. She had had enough of Qing Fong. All he ever did was make requests while he just stood on the side and watched. She only tolerated him because he was a member of the team. If she had her way, she would have given up on him after she saved him once. Qing Fong gave Xiao Xiao a pleading look. Xiao Xiao was going to offer moral support, when Ling Hao tugged at his sleeve and gave him a warning look. The realization struck him. Feng Wu was displeased. If Xiao Xiao tried to speak up for Qing Fang, she might suggest that he go with Qing Fang. That wasn't the worst-case scenario. The worst possibility was that Feng Wu might be disappointed in them. At that thought, Xiao Xiao shook his head at Qing Fang. He had to be considerate. No one took Qing Fang's side. Qing Fang was almost in tears. Feng Wu patted him on the shoulder. Off you go. Qing Fang had used up all his excuses. Taking the paper crane, he slowly walked away, looking over his shoulder every few steps. He hoped that Feng Wu would tell him to come back, but he waited and nothing happened. When he turned back again, his team had walked out of sight. He was all alone. He wanted to rush back to his team. However, the paper crane took off at that moment. It flapped its wings and gave Qing Fang a contemptuous look. Even a paper crane was mocking him now. Qing Fang felt like crying. The crane started flying away. Qing Fang was in a difficult spot. He couldn't bring himself to go back to his team. However, he didn't think he was capable enough to find Yi Han and save her. Moreover, the cave was massive. Take a wrong turn, and one could be lost in it forever. It was terrifying to walk alone in this place. Even a grown man couldn't live with that fear. After that mocking glance, the paper crane flew even faster. Hey! Wait for me! Qing Fang ran after it. Without the paper crane, he would get lost in the 80,000 tunnels. He would lose his mind. The paper crane was flying just fast enough that he could catch up with it if he walked as fast as he could. He was filled with fear and he was exhausted. He stumbled through the tunnels, his face streaked with tears. Why couldn't he just keep his mouth shut? Save Yi Han. He wasn't much better than her. How was he going to do that? Moreover, Yi Han was with Xueqing team. If they couldn't do anything, what good could he do? Qing Fang thought of Feng Wu. He wondered why Feng Wu wouldn't help him. How could she be so relentless? With all those things spinning in his head, Qing Fang pressed on hurriedly. Several times, the poor light made him fall. Soon, he was covered in bruises. But he didn't dare stop because if he did, he could become lost and die. He now saw how decisive Feng Wu was. Chapter 2697, Captain Jupiter. Chapter 2697, Captain Jupiter. Qing Fang knew that Feng Wu wouldn't come to his aid. It felt like he had been walking forever. When he thought he was going to die from exhaustion, he saw a dot of light in the distance. Meanwhile, Feng Wu and her teammates were walking in silence. No one made a sound, and the air felt stifling. Feng Wu suddenly stopped. The others were perplexed. Feng Wu frowned. There's trouble up ahead. The others asked, what trouble? Feng Wu couldn't say. All she knew was that the magic soul vine was stirring in her sleeve. The magic soul vine came from the Dongsang kingdom and would only stir when it detected people from Dongsang. Feng Wu frowned at the realization. If she was guessing correctly, the woman killed by the swordsman had come from the Dongsang kingdom, while now, she had run into more Dongsang people. The path went around a corner a few steps away. There was a crossroad. Feng Wu raised a hand, stopping the others. The others stopped and looked nervously at her. I heard something, Feng Wu whispered. Get ready for battle. The others tensed up. By now, they trusted Feng Wu completely and did as they were told. However, where was the enemy? They waited and waited, but no one turned up. Perplexed, they all turned to Feng Wu. There was a grave look on Feng Wu's face. She raised her fallen star sword and stared at a wall. The others looked at one another. Where was the enemy? It was only a wall. Was Feng Wu too on edge? They were in a tunnel that was only wide enough for two people to walk side by side. Feng Wu rearranged their positions. She stood on one side of the tunnel, and her teammates stood on the other side about 10 meters away from her. Time crawled by. Their minds began to wander when something happened. They saw shadows on the wall. They were silhouettes of people. There were at least 5 of them. Was it another team? But why were they inside the wall? They were in fact in the formation. Were they friend or foe? Feng Wu gave her teammates a warning look and took out some tear-inducing potion. The others nodded and held their breath. They heard these people talking on the other side. It sounded like gibberish. Xiao Xiao and the others were baffled. What was that language? They couldn't understand a word. But Feng Wu could. That was the language of the Dongsang Kingdom. Feng Sang hadn't been there before, nor had she learned the language. However, she had refined the magic soul vine, which was one of the most potent magical plants in Dongsang. Afterward, she could understand the language. She listened to their conversation. We should stop talking in our own language. We need to blend in. Takino has a point. Our purpose is to infiltrate Junwu and obtain classified information. We were picked because we've studied their culture for years and can speak their language fluently. After we step out of here, we should behave like native people of Junwu. Remember that. Yes, Captain Jupiter. Chapter 2698 Spies. Chapter 2698 Spies. Takino? Captain Jupiter? Dongsang Kingdom? They were going to steal information from the Junwu Empire. Xiao Xiao and the others were astonished. They hadn't expected to eavesdrop on such a big secret. I heard we had a predecessor called the Revival List. Unfortunately, the participants are all dead. We're the reinforcements and will be under the command of General Fujihara. I heard the general has hidden well. So far, no one in the Junwu Empire has discovered his real identity. With him as our leader, we'll make great achievements. Too bad Ishida isn't with us here. They're out searching for the immortal spiritual fruit. Captain Jupiter, does the immortal spiritual fruit really exist? Captain Jupiter didn't reply. Instead, another member of the team answered. Of course it exists. However, I'm not sure if they can find it, or if they can preserve it after they find it. The immortal spiritual fruit is supposed to be able to bring people back from the dead. The queen is weak. If we can offer the fruit to our king, we'll be set for life. The immortal spiritual fruit. Feng Wu felt as if she had been struck by lightning. She had always been an open and above-board person. She hardly ever owed anyone anything, but there were 2 people whom she genuinely felt sorry for. One was her beautiful master, and the other one was Bao Er. That girl was growing weaker and weaker. If she had the immortal spiritual fruit, she would still have a little hope. Otherwise, she wouldn't live for much longer. Feng Wu was still eavesdropping when Captain Jupiter scolded the others. Enough with the small talk. We're about to leave the formation. I'll go out first. You guys follow me? Yes, Captain. The people of the Dongsang Kingdom were all about following orders. Everyone stopped talking after that. Feng Wu glanced at Xiao Xiao and the others. By then, they had realized how important this was, so they all raised their guard and nodded at Feng Wu, indicating that they were ready for battle. Feng Wu struck out when Captain Jupiter walked out of the formation from behind the wall. She grabbed him, covered his mouth and nose with one hand, and pinned his hands behind his back with the other. The potion she had smeared on her hand could easily knock someone out. Captain Jupiter was about on the same level as Feng Wu. She was a level 9 spiritual lord that had reached perfection, but Jupiter was already a level 1 spiritual king. However, Feng Wu had taken him by surprise. Together with the potion, the captain didn't know how to react to the attack. Feng Wu hit him in the neck, and Jupiter collapsed to the ground. One after another, Jupiter's team members walked out from behind the wall. Feng Wu took care of 4 of them, and her teammates captured the 5th. The tunnel was too narrow, so they took the Dongsang team to an opening a few hundred meters away. Once they got there, they dropped the spies on the ground and surrounded them. All 5 of them were awake, but the potion had made their eyes watery. "You!" Jupiter was the first to realize what was going on. Chapter 2699 Imitation. Chapter 2699 Imitation. He glared at Feng Wu. Feng Wu smiled. "Who are you? Tell me your name." By then, Jupiter and his team members had recovered a little. They looked at one another, all feeling uneasy. Who would have thought? They had been so ambitious. However, they were captured before they could make a move. Jupiter gave his team a warning look before he smiled at Feng Wu. They knew the War Academy was nearby, so Jupiter hatched a plan when he saw Feng Wu and her team. "Who are you? Why are you doing this to us? We're students of the War Academy." He glared at Feng Wu. Students of the War Academy. Feng Wu looked at their clothes. These people were prepared. They were wearing the uniform of Class A. "Are you our seniors from the War Academy?" Feng Wu smiled. "Which class are you in?" "We're from Class A. You're from Class B, right?" Jupiter said arrogantly. "We're your seniors. Let us go." Feng Wu looked them up and down. She had to admit that these Dongsang people were very fluent in the language of Junwu. They behaved like natives of the Junwu Empire too. She wouldn't have been able to tell where they were from if she hadn't heard their earlier conversation. Xiao Xiao and the others were shocked. How could these people be so composed? With everything that was going on, they were still trying to pretend to be students of the War Academy. Feng Wu smiled at them. "Class A? What's your name?" "I'm Du Lu." Jupiter smirked. "Who are you?" "Du Lu." Feng Wu didn't know many people from Class A, so she looked at Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao smiled wryly. "I do recognize that name. I think he's a member of a certain team. We're an independent team." Jupiter glared at Feng Wu. "We've just returned from Peace Grassland. We were on a secret mission in the Dongsang Kingdom and barely came out alive. Is this the greeting we get after coming back home? You've attacked one of your own. This is treason." Jupiter sounded more confident as he went on. It was as if he really were Du Lu. If Feng Wu and the others hadn't heard their conversation, they would have been fooled since these people had consummate acting skills. Of course, that was only for ordinary people. With the magic soul vine, Feng Wu could identify a Dongsang man from a mile away. Feng Wu sighed and started talking. "I heard we had a predecessor called the Revival List. Unfortunately, the participants are all dead. We're the reinforcements and will be under the command of General Fujihara." Jupiter and his teammates paled. "I heard the general has hidden well. So far, no one in the Junwu Empire has discovered his real identity." Feng Wu was smiling at Jupiter's team when she said those words. "With him as our leader, we'll make great achievements." Chapter 2700 Amazing Girl. Chapter 2700 Amazing Girl. Too bad Ishida isn't with us here. They're out searching for the immortal spiritual fruit. "Captain Jupiter, does the immortal spiritual fruit really exist?" Feng Wu didn't simply repeat the conversation, she accurately mimicked their tones as well. Jupiter and his team members stared at Feng Wu in astonishment. They felt angry and defeated at the same time. They were angry because the girl had seen through their disguise but was still mocking them. They felt defeated because right up to the moment Feng Wu showed up, they had been confident that they were going to make outstanding achievements. Jupiter then gave his teammates a warning look. They nodded at him. The next moment they tried to crush the poison hidden in their tooth. These spies had emptied their molars before they came here and hidden the poison in the hollow tooth. If they were caught, they could bite down, crush the poison and kill themselves before they were interrogated. Other people might not be able to stop these spies, but Feng Wu wasn't just anyone. She had seen it coming, which was why she had used the potion. She had enhanced the formula and added some weakening ingredient. As a result, the spies didn't have the strength to bite down. Jupiter noticed it too. He stared at Feng Wu in disbelief. What did you do? Feng Wu crouched down with a half-smile. You tried to impersonate a senior student, and when we saw through your disguise, you tried to kill yourselves. You must be dreaming if you think you can get away so easily. Feng Wu patted Jupiter's cheek. I won't let any of you die before you tell me everything you know. Xiao Xiao whispered to Feng Wu. He pretended to be Du Lu. Does that mean Du Lu is? Feng Wu nodded gravely. Don't worry. I'll make them tell me everything. Xiao Xiao nodded. Feng Wu sneered at Jupiter. The truth is, I don't have too much time to ask questions. I'm going to give you an opportunity to tell me everything voluntarily. Jupiter smirked and looked away. Feng Wu said, Is that a no? Jupiter raised his chin. Feng Wu said, Fine. I'll start with washing off the makeup on your face. She gave Xiao Xiao some potion. Wipe away the disguise on their faces. They had tied up Jupiter's team, so Xiao Xiao was able to remove the disguise from their faces. Jupiter was shocked. It had taken Master Mu Yen a lot of effort to draw these new faces on them. She had said that no water could wash it off. The makeup could only be removed by a concoction made by Mu Yen herself. No one else on this continent could do it. That was why they were convinced that they could impersonate the real student. But now, Jupiter couldn't lie to himself anymore when he saw his teammates' real faces. Their cover was blown. Who was this teenage girl? How could she remove Master Mu Yan's disguise? Chapter 2701 Mu Yen, the Great Doctor. Chapter 2701 Mu Yen, the Great Doctor. How could she remove Master Mu Yan's disguise? Jupiter worshipped Mu Yen for her exceptional medical skills, but he had begun to panic. Feng Wu said casually, I want to know the truth as soon as possible. Sorry about this. She then handed a box to Xiao Xiao. Inside are 5 bottles of truth serum. Do you know what that is? Truth serum? The others were amazed. They weren't stupid, and of course they knew what that was. Students could purchase the serum with their points in the academy, but usually, no one was dumb enough to buy it. The serum was insanely expensive. The students would rather use the points on their own cultivation instead of buying some useless potion. It wasn't as if they would be interrogating people every other day. However, the truth serum was going to be very useful today. Jupiter smirked at Feng Wu. The Dongsang Kingdom had similar potions as well. They were much better at medical refinement. The same went with formations. Despite being a much stronger country, the Junwu Empire lagged behind in these aspects. It was also why Dongsang, a small kingdom, dared to wage war against the Junwu Empire. Xiao Xiao saw a smirk on Jupiter's face. What are you sneering at? Xiao Xiao frowned. Jupiter opened his mouth. Give me the truth serum. Bring it on. Ling Hao frowned and wondered why the man didn't seem scared. Is he immune to the serum? Takino smirked inwardly. Mu Yen had used the truth serum on them before they came here, and had only let them set out when they could resist the serum. Therefore, they weren't afraid of it. Of course, they weren't going to tell Feng Wu and her team that. They thought they could fool Feng Wu and make her believe she had gotten the truth out of them. Just then, Feng Wu said, Take those 3 to the other side. Only Jupiter and Takino were left behind. Feng Wu glanced at Takino, who seemed very pleased with himself. Xiao Xiao then poured the serum into Takino's mouth. The whole bottle. Takino drank it all. At first, he remained arrogant. But that demeanor didn't last long. He then started talking. He used the language of the Dongsang Kingdom. Jupiter frowned. Had Takino gone crazy? He shouldn't be saying those things. Luckily, his enemy didn't understand the language. However, what Feng Wu said surprised him. Someone tried the truth serum on you, right? Takino said, yes. Feng Wu smiled. Who was it? Takino said, Master Mu Yen. Feng Wu asked, who's that? Shut up. Shut up. Jupiter shouted at Takino. Takino was lucid for a split second, and he glared at Feng Wu. However, the serum soon took control of him again. Chapter 2702 The Crown Prince's Girl. Chapter 2702 The Crown Prince's Girl. Master Mu Yen is. Mu Yen. She's so pretty. I like her so much. But I can't like her. She's the Crown Prince's girl. Takino. Fearing that Takino would reveal more information, Jupiter jumped at him, trying to choke him to death. However, he was stopped before he could reach Takino. His hands had been tied behind his back with a special rope. The harder he struggled, the tighter the knot became. The rope dug into his flesh, and blood seeped out. The commotion woke Takino up a little. He looked at Jupiter in bewilderment. Captain? However, Feng Wu's truth serum was much more potent than a regular one. After a brief moment of clarity, Takino succumbed to the potion once more. Feng Wu asked, Who is Mu Yen to your crown prince? Takino's eyes were glassy, but he grinned, seemingly pleased with himself. Other people may not know it, but I do. I saw it with my own eyes. Takino whispered. I saw the Crown Prince and Master Mu Yen rolling around in the grass. That wasn't something one should reveal to their enemies. It was too sensitive a piece of information, and Jupiter knew their enemies would make good use of it. A million ideas raced through Jupiter's head, and blue veins popped on his forehead. He wanted to say something but was too weak to speak. He glared at Feng Wu. He couldn't understand what kind of potion it was. Master Mu Yen had tried all kinds of serums and potions on them until they developed a resistance to them all. Moreover, the Dongsang Kingdom was much better in terms of medical skills. The people of the Junwu Empire were barbarians in comparison. However, they had been rendered completely defenseless. Why? Who was this girl? Jupiter's face twisted, and he thought he was going to go crazy. However, no matter how angry he was, he couldn't do anything about it. Feng Wu smiled at Takino. You saw Master Mu Yen with the Crown Prince? Is she going to be his wife, then? Of course not. Takino shook his head. The Crown Prince has a wife already. She's from a very powerful family. Feng Wu asked curiously, What family is that? I can't tell you, Takino shook his head. I'd rather die than tell you. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. It seemed that the Crown Prince and Mu Yen were worth looking into. Feng Wu made a mental note and decided to do some research later. The Dongsang Kingdom knew so much about the Junwu Empire. It wouldn't be fair if the Junwu Empire didn't know as much about them. She asked, What level is your Master Mu Yen? Takino said, She's a supreme-level medicine refiner. Xiao Xiao and the others were astonished. Supreme level. Feng Wu was supposed to be a supreme-level medicine refiner, too, but she could overcome Mu Yan's methods? Did that mean? Chapter 2703 Lord of Mulberry City. Chapter 2703 Lord of Mulberry City. Did that mean Feng Wu was more advanced than a supreme-level medicine refiner? Xiao Xiao and the others were once again astonished by the notion. Feng Wu asked, Where does that door in the wall lead to? Where did you come from? Takino didn't answer. The fog in his mind was lifting, and he no longer had glassy eyes. Feng Wu sighed inwardly. It seemed she wasn't going to get an answer after all. Takino woke up from the effect of the serum at that moment. He glared at Feng Wu when he realized what had happened. What did I say? Captain, what did I say? Jupiter ground his teeth. Realizing that he might have leaked some confidential information, Takino wanted to kill himself. Feng Wu shook her head. the truth serum's effect wouldn't last forever. And people could develop a resistance. It was most effective when it was used the first time, while the effect was reduced by 50% the second time round. Takino was a spy who had undergone special training. Even a truth serum made by Feng Wu herself would only be effective the first time. Therefore, Feng Wu worked on Jupiter instead. Jupiter tried to resist it at first. Takino watched in astonishment as Jupiter started spitting out confidential information. How? Aren't we resistant to truth serum? Why? Takino couldn't believe his eyes. Xiao Xiao smirked. Your truth serum isn't as useful as ours. That's not possible. Our master is better than any medicine refiner in the Junwu Empire. You people are barbarians. Xiao Xiao asked, Are you talking about Mu Yen? Takino said, Who told you that name? Xiao Xiao said, We know more than that. We know Mu Yen and your crown prince were rolling around in the grass. OMG. Takino wanted to slap himself. Only he knew about that incident. That was to say, he had revealed it to Feng Wu. As a spy, Takino was perfectly aware of the significance of that piece of information. He couldn't imagine how his enemy would use it. Feng Wu wasn't going to give Jupiter a chance to recover. She cut right to the chase. It had only taken Takino 15 minutes to wake up, and Jupiter would be quicker to shake off the effect. He could wake up at any moment, so she had to make every second count. Where does that portal lead to? Feng Wu asked. Jupiter hesitated and shook his head. He tried to resist. Feng Wu knew it was harder to use the truth serum on spiritual kings because they had tougher minds. Therefore, she also tried to hypnotize him with her voice. Slowly, Jupiter let down his guard. Even so, he wasn't easy to interrogate. He spoke in the Dongsang language. Mulberry City, the city lord's residence. We gathered in the garden in his manor, jumped in, and saw the portal. The lord told us the secret essence mine of the Junwu Empire would be on the other end. Feng Wu understood what he said. Chapter 2704 Shuizhibei and Feng Xiangnan. Chapter 2704 Shuizhibei and Feng Xiangnan. Xiao Xiao couldn't understand a word. Mulberry City and the city lord's residence. Feng Wu asked, Mulberry City? Who's the city lord? How capable is he? Jupiter replied in his native language, He's Shuizhibei. I don't know how capable he is. Feng Wu said, You don't? Make a comparison, then. Who's better, he or Feng Xiangnan, the northern Feng general? Feng Xiangnan was Feng Sun's father. He had been stationed at Peace Grassland in the north all this time, guarding the empire against Mulberry City of the Dongsang Kingdom. Captain Jupiter remained befuddled and replied in his native language, They're equally capable. That was impressive. Northern Feng general had guarded the grassland for many years without so much as losing a tiny piece of the land. Because of him, Northern Border City, the place where Feng Wu used to live, had enjoyed peace all these years. If Peace Grassland was the first line of defense, Northern Border City was second. If Northern Border City fell, the Dongsang Kingdom would sweep through the empire the same way it had 14 years ago. The people of the empire would be slaughtered. Therefore, the empire couldn't afford to lose Peace Grassland. Feng Wu pressed, What's Dongsang's plan for the Junwu Empire? Captain Jupiter gave it some thought before he shook his head. I'm too far down the food chain to know that. I only know that a lot of us have infiltrated the Junwu Empire. Feng Wu gritted her teeth. You'll need some sort of organization to do that. What's it called? Who's the leader? Xiao Xiao and the others couldn't understand Feng Wu and Jupiter's conversation. However, they could tell from Feng Wu's expression that it was important. Takino struggled as he tried to break free and wake up his captain. Of course, the others wouldn't give him that chance. They grabbed Takino, covered his mouth and restrained his limbs. They even dragged him several hundred meters away, for fear that he would sabotage their efforts. Feng Wu was indeed onto something big. Jupiter started waking up. Shit. Feng Wu's stomach sank, but she realized what was happening, so she increased the dose. She hadn't brought much truth serum with her, and she used all 3 remaining portions on Jupiter while she kept hypnotizing him with her voice. Finally, Jupiter sank back into a befuddled state again. Feng Wu jumped at the opportunity. What's your organization called? Who's the leader? That was the million-dollar question. Although the revival plan had failed, the brains behind that project had never been discovered. Feng Wu hadn't forgotten the hidden crisis. She wouldn't waste such a great opportunity. Jupiter murmured, "The organization is called Junwu Annihilation. It's dedicated to collecting information on the Junwu Empire. It has a domestic division and a foreign division. The domestic one is called Crackdown and the foreign one is called Wipeout. Crackdown is led by the Master Teacher, whereas Wipeout is led by the King's brother." Chapter 2705 Crackdown and Wipeout. Chapter 2705 Crackdown and Wipeout. The Master Teacher leads the domestic division, whereas Wipeout is led by the King's brother. The King's brother? Feng Wu asked. Who's that? Jupiter was about to say a name, when his eyes cleared up and he came back to his senses. Meanwhile, Takino, who had been brought back, stared at Jupiter in disbelief. Captain, why did you tell them everything? Only then did Jupiter realize what he had done. He bellowed and jumped at Feng Wu. Feng Wu dodged. Jupiter suddenly smiled. Feng Wu said, "Everybody down." Xiao Xiao and the others reacted quickly. They dashed off and lay flat on the ground. There was a rumbling sound. Jupiter and Takino turned into balls of fire. The fire then quickly made its way toward the 3 other people. Shit! Feng Wu charged at them. She hadn't interrogated them yet because she had run out of truth serum. She had been about to torture them until they confessed, but she didn't expect Jupiter to attack his teammate. At that critical moment, Takino jumped at Feng Wu. He was trying to set Feng Wu on fire. Takino was the second most capable person in the team. All 5 people were elite members of the Dongsang Kingdom. Otherwise, Mu Yen wouldn't have invested so much in them. Feng Wu was Takino's target. Burning like a ball of fire, he tried to grab Feng Wu and take her down with him. After Feng Wu dodged, he turned to her teammates instead. He was much more capable than Xiao Xiao and the others. He was at least a level 8 spiritual lord. Feng Wu shouted, "Don't let him catch you. He'll kill you." She had planned everything down to the last detail, but she hadn't expected them to hide explosives inside their bodies. Jupiter had been taken by surprise and couldn't activate his spiritual essence. As a result, he couldn't take his own life and had to give Feng Wu the information after she fed him the truth serum. He blew himself up after he regained a little spiritual essence. Takino's spiritual essence was activated by the explosion, so he set himself on fire as well. After Takino, the other 3 followed suit. Feng Wu didn't expect the people of Dongsang Kingdom to be so undaunted by death. Everything happened so fast. Feng Wu ran fast. Seeing that her teammates didn't have time to get away, she wrapped the magic soul vine around them and pulled. Jupiter's eyes lit up when he saw the vine. Magic soul vine. The legendary magic soul vine. It had been lost from the Dongsang Kingdom for years. The fate of the kingdom was related to the magic soul vine. Jupiter wanted to deliver the shocking news back home, but it was too late. The next second, he exploded. Everything was quiet for 10 seconds. When Feng Wu threw her teammates further away, she became the person closest to the explosion. Chapter 2706 Explosion. Chapter 2706 Explosion. When Feng Wu threw her teammates out of the way, she became the person closest to the explosion. She coughed, and smoke came out of her mouth. A thick layer of ash covered her back. It was a result of the explosion. Luckily, she was wearing the soft armor which Jun Linyuan had given her, and the flames couldn't burn through it. However, her exposed skin was red and swollen, and the pain made her frown. She ignored her injuries. Instead, she ran to her nearest teammate and helped him to his feet. "Wang Ji, how are you?" Wang Ji was almost suffocated by the smoke, but Feng Wu's voice roused him from his stupor. He waved at Feng Wu and said, "I'm fine. Don't worry about me." Feng Wu nodded and went to check on the others. Luckily, their injuries were all superficial. Xiao Xiao said, "Fortunately, we're all alive." Huashan patted his chest, still feeling shaken. Does life mean nothing to the people of the Dongseng Kingdom? As if one explosion wasn't enough, all 5 of them blew themselves up. What was going on in their minds? Wang Ji said, "Their spiritual essence was blocked." "How did they do it?" Everyone looked at Feng Wu in confusion. Feng Wu smiled wryly. "The people of the Dongseng Kingdom are as dauntless as they're said to be. They injected themselves with an explosive potion before they set out. The tiniest amount of spiritual essence can set off an explosion." "That sounds ruthless." Xiao Xiao rubbed his nose. "They weren't afraid of death, and they tried to bring us down with them." Ling Hao said, "You don't say. The 3 people we weren't able to interrogate took their lives as well." Feng Wu said, "I think they preset when the explosion would happen." All eyes were on Feng Wu. She added, "I thought at first that they set off the explosion because their spiritual essence recovered a little. However, the other 3 men killed themselves too. It then occurred to me." She took a deep breath. "They knew they couldn't get away after we stopped them from taking the poison, so they switched to ready-to-explode mode." Everyone sucked in their breath. "They were so decisive," Ling Hao said, still sounding terrified. Feng Wu said, "That's why their spies keep infiltrating the Junwu Empire, but only very few of us can infiltrate the Dongseng Kingdom." Everyone nodded, agreeing with her. "Wait!" Xiao Xiao cried out. "If they were impersonating Du Lu and his teammates, does it mean the real people are?" Feng Wu was frustrated. She had been too busy asking about the organization and had forgotten about Du Lu. Luckily, she had found out about Mu Yen and the fact that she was in Mulberry City. It wouldn't be too difficult to get information about the real Du Lu. Xiao Xiao asked, "What should we do now? Should we go back to the academy and notify the teachers?" Ling Hao shrugged. "Those people blew themselves up. They're a pile of ash now. What can we say?" Xiao Xiao turned to Feng Wu, feeling that she would have an idea what to do. Feng Wu nodded. "I'll talk to Mr. Gongsun about it." The others were surprised that Feng Wu knew Mr. Gongsun. Chapter 2707 Level 7 Inscription Master. Chapter 2707 Level 7 Inscription Master. Xiao Xiao had initially thought that Feng Wu just got along well with Mr. Yang. As it turned out, she knew Gongsun Mu, the vice principal of the academy. Everyone nodded. "All right." Feng Wu shrugged. "We have 2 options now." Everyone looked at her with sparkling eyes. Feng Wu said, "Option 1. We head for the formation core and get out of the secret essence mine. Option 2. We go to rescue them." Xiao Xiao said, "I'm worried about Qing Feng." Wang Ji nodded. "After all, they're our classmates." Ling Hao said, "I'll do whatever Feng Wu says." Huashan said, "Me too." Feng Wu shook her head after some consideration. "It's too dangerous over there. If we all go together, I don't think I'll be able to protect all of you." "We're not afraid of danger," Xiao Xiao said. Feng Wu said grumpily, "I know you're not, but our enemies are all as capable as Jupiter Team, whose leader was a spiritual king. What will you do?" That sounded ominous. Everyone gave Feng Wu pleading looks. They wanted to join her but didn't want to become a burden. Feng Wu said, "You'll just stay on the side and watch." The others nodded. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. She thought for a moment before making up her mind. "Let's get to the core as soon as we can. I can only control the formation from there. That way, no one else will be able to get away." After a pause, Feng Wu added, "We can't know for sure that there's only one team like Jupiter team." Everyone's faces darkened and they all nodded. "Let's go." Feng Wu smiled a little before they set out. She walked up to the wall which Jupiter team had come out from. It looked the same as all the other walls in the tunnels. No one would have thought that a group of people would walk out of it. Feng Wu took out a strange-looking pen and began to draw peculiar signs on the wall. They looked familiar, but her team members couldn't understand a word. Before long, Feng Wu was done. She put away the pen and nodded. "Let's go." Huashan asked curiously, "Feng Wu, what did you write? Why can't I understand a single word?" Feng Wu said, "They're inscriptions." "Inscriptions?" Huashan's eyes widened. "Feng Wu, you know inscriptions?" "No." Feng Wu mulled over the word before she nodded. "I suppose you can say that. Are you an inscription master, then? A level 1 inscription master?" Ling Hao cried out. "Level 1? Feng Wu shook her head. "No, I'm not." She was already a level 7 inscription master, and was moving on to level 8. Ling Hao said, "You're not? That's all right. I heard it's very difficult, and only insanely intelligent people can master it." Of course, Feng Wu isn't insane. Feng Wu said, "We should get going." The secret essence mine was a labyrinth to others, but it wasn't too difficult for Feng Wu. She could understand its structure. It didn't take them long to reach the core. It was unimaginable how they could find the right path among 80,000 tunnels. It was impossible. But Feng Wu had done it. Is this the formation core? Chapter 2708, I Just Know. Chapter 2708, I Just Know. Is this the formation core? Ling Hao looked around. It wasn't as narrow as the tunnels, where they had to walk in single file. This place was a few hundred square meters wide. In the center was a round platform. On the platform was a giant screen with a strange-looking handle. Xiao Xiao and the others looked at one another in bewilderment. They had reached the formation core. But they couldn't see a way out of this place. Feng Wu quickly walked up to the screen. The others followed her, curious as to what she would do. Feng Wu took out the inscription pen which she had used to draw on the wall and started writing on the screen. No one knew what she was writing. Even if they could see the signs she was drawing, they wouldn't be able to read them. Feng Wu wrote several lines when something happened. The dark screen lit up. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The screen was divided into 9 sections, each showing an image. They showed everything that was going on in the mine. They weren't still images, but were videos. Looking at the screen, it felt as if they were scanning the entire mine. Everyone stared at Feng Wu in astonishment. How did she know she could see the entire mine here at the core? Why did she know how to use that control handle? In fact, she hadn't known at first. She had never been here before. However, she had Little Phoenix, who seemed to know a lot of things. What Feng Wu didn't tell the others was that the bird had been providing her with information along the way. She didn't know how the bird knew. According to Little Phoenix, it had visited this place in its previous life. It had even supervised the construction of this mine. Feng Wu had been skeptical about this piece of information at first, but she began to change her mind as Little Phoenix proved that its information was accurate. For instance, Little Phoenix told Feng Wu the password to switch on the screen. Look! Ling Hao pointed at the bottom right square on the screen. Isn't that Shan Jingfei's team? They're in trouble. Feng Wu gave it a little tap, and the bottom right section occupied the entire screen. Everyone stared at her in amazement. Was that even possible? They were amazed by everything that was happening. The screen was a novel object which they had never seen before. Xiao Xiao asked, "When did we ever have one of these screens? I heard they are made in Dongsang, but not here. How do you know how it works? Where did you learn that?" Feng Wu said, "I just do." Compared with the tablet she used to have in her previous life, this screen was so basic. To the native people of this world, it must look like a miracle. "You just do?" Ling Hao and the others stared at her. Feng Wu said, "That's irrelevant. Look." Everyone looked at the screen. They saw that strange-looking magical beasts had surrounded Shan Jingfei and her companions. There were 10 of them in total. Shan Jingfei's team and Xueqing team had 5 members each. Both had capable members. However, Chapter 2709 Spirit Stone Worms. Chapter 2709 Spirit Stone Worms. The snowy white magical beasts were squirming on the ground. "They're not worms, are they?" Huashan noticed the strange appearance of the magical beasts. Feng Wu didn't know what they were, but Little Phoenix was already talking in her head. "Gosh, aren't these spirit stone worms? They're longer than the height of humans now. That was fast." The bird sounded amazed. Feng Wu asked curiously, "Do you know what they are?" Little Phoenix said, "Of course I do. I supervised the construction of this secret essence mine. I know better than anyone else." Feng Wu suddenly realized something. Didn't Lu Mingzong, the founder of Imperial College, build this mine? Little Phoenix said, "Yes, he is your senior." It stopped abruptly, realizing that it had revealed some confidential information. Feng Wu was curious. "What did you say? Who is Lu Mingzong to me? Senior what?" Little Phoenix wouldn't say anything. "Birdie?" Feng Wu asked. "Don't call me that. It sounds awful." Little Phoenix complained. Feng Wu said, "If you don't answer me, I'll call you Birdie from now on. You're so annoying." Feng Wu was driving the bird crazy. It was supposed to be Boss Phoenix, not some birdie. What a horrible nickname. Fine. I'll tell you." Little Phoenix snapped. "Lu Mingzong is your senior brother." "What? My senior brother? As in my master's eldest disciple?" "Yes." Little Phoenix nodded. Feng Wu said, "Wasn't Lu Mingzong supposed to be the most powerful cultivator of the Junwu Empire before Master Ling Hu came along?" Little Phoenix didn't answer. Feng Wu asked, "Where is he now?" "Rumor is that he's gone missing, but no one can say for sure that he's dead." "Where is he?" Little Phoenix still didn't answer. Feng Wu asked, "Why won't you answer me? Am I missing something?" Little Phoenix said, "You can call me whatever you want. I'm not going to tell you." Feng Wu pleaded, "But I want to know." Little Phoenix said, "In that case you better finish the last 2 missions. That way your beautiful master will wake up. He's always doted on you. I'm sure you can trick him into telling you. If I say the wrong thing, he'll probably strangle me." The bird wouldn't admit that it was jealous. Feng Wu had no idea what the bird was thinking. Seeing that she wasn't going to get an answer, she said grumpily, "Fine. I'm working on it, but the task is so tricky." She had been working hard to convince Zhuo Qingluan that Jun Linyuan was in love with her, but Zhuo Qingluan just wouldn't buy it. Feng Wu decided that she would put more effort into it. Feng Wu? Feng Wu? Chapter 2710 Protective Circle 1. Chapter 2710 Protective Circle 1. Xiao Xiao and the others watched Feng Wu dubiously while she spoke to Little Phoenix. "I see." Feng Wu finally turned to her teammates and pointed at the worms on the screen. "These are spirit stone worms. They've been feeding on spiritual stones for years and are filled with essence. They're very beneficial for cultivation. However, the worms had surrounded Shan Jingfei and her friends. We should help them. Ling Hao had a kind heart, and he turned to Feng Wu. Shan Jingfei isn't the most polite person, but she doesn't deserve to die like this. I don't think we should look the other way. All eyes were on Feng Wu. Feng Wu shook her head. You're not capable enough to rescue them. Instead of saving them, you'll be surrounded by those worms, too. I won't be able to save you all. That's why you need to wait here while I go save them. Feng Wu took Little Phoenix out of her sleeve, set it on the screen and said, "Keep me posted." Little Phoenix shook its head. I don't like the idea of you going alone. You have to take me with you. However, someone had to stay with the screen and tell Feng Wu what was happening in the rest of the mine. That's easy. With a wave of its wing, Little Phoenix switched off the screen and turned it into a mirror, which was small enough to sit on its head. You can take it everywhere with you, Little Phoenix said proudly. I told you already. I built this mine, and I'm its master. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. They were talking in the bird's language, which the others didn't understand. They watched in bewilderment, wondering what Feng Wu and the bird were talking about. Feng Wu asked, "Will the worms attack my team?" Little Phoenix said matter-of-factly, "Of course they will." Feng Wu asked, "How can I protect them?" Little Phoenix didn't say anything. It landed in a clear area, drew a circle that was 6 meters in diameter, and lifted its tail. It then pooped on the spot. Was that something Boss Phoenix was supposed to do? Seeing how shocked Feng Wu was, Little Phoenix said, "As long as they don't leave this circle, I guarantee you they'll stay alive." Feng Wu glanced at her teammates. Ling Hao said, "Feng Wu, are you going to do something about this unhygienic bird?" Unhygienic. Aggrieved, Little Phoenix smacked Ling Hao's head with its wing. Ouch! It was so painful that Ling Hao almost burst into tears. That hurt. Feng Wu cleared her throat. All right. Just wait for me in this circle. It's safer that way. In this circle? Is that a joke? Ling Hao almost jumped to his feet. Feng Wu rolled her eyes at him. Just go inside the circle if the spirit stone worms attack you. The circle will keep you alive. Now I'll go rescue the others. She had seen Qing Fong on the screen just then. She had taken a risk when she let Qing Fong leave. If Qing Fong could find Shan Jingfei and her team, Feng Wu didn't mind giving them a hand. Chapter 27:11 Protective Circle 2. Chapter 27:11 Protective Circle 2. Feng Wu dashed off immediately after that. Ling Hao sat on a rock, crestfallen. Xiao Xiao didn't seem very happy either. Ling Hao said, "She just left us here. Are we not useful at all? Will we just cause her more trouble? I don't believe it." Xiao Xiao said, "Haven't we been a burden to Feng Wu all along?" Ling Hao glared at him. Xiao Xiao shrugged. "Can you give me an example when we weren't a burden?" Ling Hao was speechless. Just then, "Watch out!" Huashan jumped to his feet when he saw a big, fat spirit stone worm crawl into sight. They had seen from the big screen how terrifying they were. The worms might look soft, chubby and harmless, but their teeth were sharp enough to tear one to pieces. These worms ate spiritual stones. Could they be harmless? "Let's kill it!" Ling Hao lashed out at the worm. "If I'm correct, it's a Class B magical beast at its peak, right?" Wang Ji did some calculations and nodded. "That's right. By the Academy's standard, its crystal core is at that level." Ling Hao was thrilled. "Guys, let's take its crystal core. Doesn't Feng Wu want to be first? Let's give her a hand." Wang Ji found his suggestion idiotic. "How many worms do you think you can kill? Get back here." Ling Hao shook his head. "That ugly little bird drew a circle and pooped in it. Do you seriously think it can protect us? If that's the case, why do we bother to cultivate at all?" Huashan said, I have faith in Feng Wu. If she says it'll work, then it'll work. However, that's only the last resort. I'm curious to find out how powerful the spirit stone worms are. Ling Hao, shall we do it together? Ling Hao said, good idea. As it turned out, the spirit stone worm was as formidable as it was said to be. These magical beasts had lived in these underground tunnels for years and fed on spiritual stones. Thump! The two of them couldn't kill that worm. In the end, Xiao Xiao and Wang Ji had to give them a hand. Phew! Ling Hao heaved a sigh. Gosh, it was so hard to kill, and that was only one worm. Huashan said, there can't be a lot of them. Trust me. However, he paled before he could finish the sentence. He stared at the opening of the tunnel. What was wrong? The others were scared out of their wits when they looked in that direction. Spirit stone worms. There were so many of them. More than they could count. Everywhere they looked, there were big, fat spirit stone worms that were each the size of a grown man. Holy crap! OMG! No way! They were all alarmed. That was crazy. How could there be so many of them? Had they caught the scent of human flesh and followed it here? What should we do now? Ling Hao was as white as a sheet. Chapter 27:12 Protective Circle 3. Chapter 27:12 Protective Circle 3. There had to be thousands of them. The four of them had to fight together to defeat one spirit stone worm, and two worms could probably finish them all. There were thousands of worms out there. Without hesitation, Huashan ran toward the circle Little Phoenix had drawn. Xiao Xiao and Wang Ji looked at each other, both wondering if the circle would stop the worms. However, they didn't have any other choice. There was no way they could defeat all the worms. Those worms didn't even need to do anything. They could easily crush them with their weight alone. Everyone jumped into the circle except for Ling Hao. The worms crawled toward them. The antennas on their heads were shaped like bolts, their bulging eyes glinted coldly, and their tongues flicked the way a snake's would. It was a bone-chilling sight. They moved very fast and reached the team in no time. The look in their eyes reminded one of hungry wolves. After being stuck here for so many years, they missed the taste of fresh human flesh. Seeing that Ling Hao had frozen on the spot, Xiao Xiao ran out of the circle and dragged him into it before the worms reached him. Only then did Ling Hao realize what was going to happen. Are we going to die? Are they going to eat us? I don't want to die. He was so frightened that he was almost in tears. Xiao Xiao was trembling as well, but he forced himself to calm down and fought back his fear. We have to trust Feng Wu. I'm sure we'll be fine. Only a moment ago they had been complaining about Feng Wu, but now they realized that they really would have been a burden to her. How humiliating! The worms soon reached them. The circle wasn't all that big, and the worms were already 2 meters long. They moved closer and closer. Everyone was frightened out of their wits when the worms stopped. The leader of the worms had frightening eyes and was as long as 5 meters. It was at least a spiritual king. When it stopped, the other worms stopped as well. It seemed the other worms would follow their leader's order without question. The leader stretched out its head and sniffed around as if it was perplexed. It seemed to be searching for an old memory. Suddenly, it screeched in fear. It was an ear-splitting noise. The sound almost knocked the team out. Ling Hao burst into tears, thinking that he was going to die for sure. Just then, the leader of the worms spun around and ran back into the tunnel as fast as it could manage. The other worms seemed bewildered, because they weren't as sensitive as their leader. However, it didn't take them long to recover the same memory. The terror of the past haunted them once more. Chapter 27:13 Protective Circle 4. Chapter 27:13 Protective Circle 4. They all started retreating as if someone was hunting them. They disappeared as fast as they had arrived. Ling Hao was still screaming. Xiao Xiao grabbed his shoulder and shook him. Stop. We're safe. They're gone. It took Ling Hao a while to quiet down because he had covered his ears with his hands. He raised his head and looked at Xiao Xiao in bewilderment. Gradually, his hearing recovered. He could hear what Xiao Xiao was saying. The worms are all gone. We're safe. We're going to live. Xiao Xiao repeated loudly. Hearing this, Ling Hao looked around. He remembered that they had been surrounded by thousands of spirit stone worms. But they were nowhere to be seen now. Had it not been for the slime on the ground, he would think he had been dreaming. Ling Hao asked, "Are they all gone?" The others nodded. "Yes." Ling Hao said, "They stopped trying to eat us because we hid in the circle, is that it?" The others nodded again. "Yes." Ling Hao said, "What kind of bird was that?" The others were amazed as well. Where did that bird come from? The worms only smelled its poop and they were scared out of their wits. Why do I feel like that bird has dealt with these worms before? Huoshan said curiously. That's impossible, said Xiao Xiao. This mine has been buried underground for many years, but that bird is about the same age as Feng Wu. How can it have seen the worms before? I think it has something to do with its bloodline. We owe her one again. Ling Hao was crestfallen. Actually, we owe the bird a favor this time. Xiao Xiao smiled bitterly. We should be used to it by now. We'll repay her little by little, I guess. They admired Feng Wu even more. That bird was definitely one of the legendary divine beasts, but Feng Wu was its master. What did that mean? A divine beast had recognized Feng Wu's ability. If that was the case, no other student in Imperial College was Feng Wu's match. Meanwhile, led by Little Phoenix, Feng Wu headed for where Shan Jingfei was. Shan Jingfei and her friends had run into many difficulties along the way. They entered the secret essence mine before Feng Wu did, but they soon got lost. There were countless tunnels underground and they soon got lost. Moreover, they also ran into the spirit stone worms from the very beginning. At first, the worms appeared one at a time. Shan Jingfei was glad. She thought she would obtain enough crystal cores from these magical beasts. Xueqing team was with her, and they killed those beasts easily. However, things didn't remain that way. More and more worms appeared. At first, they came in 3s and 5s. Then, there were 10, 20 and even 30 of them. Xueqing team could still handle 30 worms. However, there were soon hundreds of worms. Shan Jingfei burst into tears when they were surrounded by countless worms. Chapter 27:14 Critical Moment 1. Chapter 27:14 Critical Moment 1. What should we do now? Yihan and her teammates were cornered in a narrow cave. They were surrounded by spirit stone worms in all directions. Spirit stone worms charged at them like endless waves. They were gigantic creatures with bulging eyes which glinted coldly as they gnashed their teeth. They were ready to tear the 11 people to pieces. After Cheng Fong found them, the group now had 11 members. Xueqing team had the more capable members, so 3 of them stopped the attack from the front. 2 other members stayed in the rear, fighting back the worms that were following them. The narrow tunnel was blocked by the dead bodies of the worms, which made them think they were safe. However, they soon realized that they were too naive. The worms began to devour the bodies of their own kin. Oh my God! Shan Jingfei was nauseated by the sight. They're eating their own kind. That's insane. They trembled as they watched the worms tear apart the bodies with their sharp teeth. Their stomachs churned. Are we going to die? I don't want to die. Yihan was terrified when she was forced to face the possibility of death. Xueqing team went on killing the worms, guarding the others from the front and the back. They had no problem fighting a couple of worms at a time, but they were only human, and would get tired eventually. They were already covered with worm bites and were getting weaker. They're not only disgusting, their bites are venomous as well. Yihan panicked. What should we do now? Xueqing team can't hold them back for much longer. Shan Jingfei was furious. She glared at Xueqing team and complained, I thought Qiu Ziyu would find me some capable students. They're not that useful, after all. Yi Hongxue hadn't been all that keen to help Shan Jingfei in the first place. They had only accepted the request to obtain a certain number of crystal cores, not protect some girl. They were doing these students a favor. They weren't obliged to help them out. Instead of thanking them for their kindness, Shan Jingfei was complaining. Who the hell did she think she was, a princess? Yi Hongxue smirked. Fine. If we're not good enough, do it on your own. After that, Yi Hongxue walked back to the team and sat on the ground to recover her strength. You! Shan Jingfei stared at her in disbelief. How dare you? Yi Hongxue met her eyes. Watch me. I don't owe you anything. Shan Jingfei considered herself the most popular girl in the school, and all boys were supposed to be in love with her. She gritted her teeth and sneered at Yi Hongxue. Have you forgotten your mission? You accepted the request. She had never seen Yi Hongxue as a senior student. Yi Hongxue meant nothing to her. However, Yi Hongxue wasn't threatened. Have you forgotten what our mission is? Chapter 27:15 Critical Moment 2. Chapter 27:15 Critical Moment 2. Shan Jingfei looked at Yi Hongxue in bewilderment. Yi Hongxue snorted. Our mission was to help you get 20 Class B crystal cores. Shan Jingfei wanted to retort, but Yi Hongxue glanced at her. We've killed way over 20 spirit stone worms for you. Our mission is complete. Shan Jingfei was embarrassed. The praise she had received over the years had made her too arrogant. She couldn't believe anyone would dare treat her this way. Shan Jingfei ground her teeth. Are you saying you're not going to help us anymore? Yi Hongxue smirked. I don't know about your relationship with Qiu Ziyu, but he didn't hire us to protect you since it would be too expensive. Shan Jingfei looked like she had been slapped. He didn't know I would be in danger. Otherwise. Yi Hongxue cut her off. I don't care and I don't want to know. The bottom line is that Xueqing team has completed the mission. Your safety is none of our business. Shan Jingfei said, but you're a Class A student and our senior. As your senior, I'm going to give you a warning. Yi Hongxue rolled her eyes at Shan Jingfei. I'm doing you a big favor here, and I'm not obliged to help you, so keep your mouth shut. I'll throw you to the worms if you annoy me again. You! Shan Jingfei was furious. Her face had turned scarlet red because she had never been humiliated like this before. However, she didn't dare say a word. She realized how displeased Yi Hongxue had become. Xue Hao, she changed her approach and turned to Xue Hao instead. However, Yi Hongxue glared at Xue Hao before Shan Jingfei could finish. Xue Hao, I'll be our team's acting captain for a while. Agreed? In a critical moment like this, no one wanted to deal with Shan Jingfei's whining, so Xue Hao immediately said, Great! I like that idea. Yi Hongxue glanced at Shan Jingfei, who looked like she was about to explode. Yi Hongxue went on, Since I'm the captain now, I order you to come back here and take a break. Xue Hao said, Who will fight off the worms? Yi Hongxue said, Don't they have the great Captain Shan Jingfei? She's supposed to be the top student in Class B. She shouldn't hide behind us and make us protect her. She'll be going to Peace Grassland soon, and she needs the practice. Go on. Xue Hao and his teammates cleared their throat. They came back, sat down next to Yi Hongxue, and started to recover their strength. Shan Jingfei and her team were under a lot of pressure. Yi Hongxue was right. Because Xueqing team had been protecting the others, Shan Jingfei and her team had the energy to stay at the back and complain. After Xueqing team fell back, Shan Jingfei and the others had to face the worms on their own. Shan Jingfei was in tears when she saw the drooling worms. Infuriated, she shouted at Cheng Fong. It's all your fault. Cheng Fong was dumbfounded. What? He had been worried about them, and had come back to help them despite the danger. Was this what he got in return? Shan Jingfei didn't dare criticize Yi Hongxue, so she lashed out at Cheng Fong. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.